Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are cutting right through the absolute mountain of noise surrounding a wildly hot topic, cryptocurrency. Look, our goal here isn't to persuade you to buy, and it's not to persuade you to sell. We simply want to hand you the objective facts. That way, you can step right away from all those fear-based buzzwords and finally understand what is actually going on.
Decoding the crypto noise. Let's start by setting our baseline right out of the gate. We aren't here to sell you anything at all. We're just replacing the hype and the hyperbole with a neutral, factual understanding.
So here is our agenda for today. We are going to tackle the biggest myths across three main themes. 1. Criminals and Ponzi schemes. 2. Real value and volatility. And 3. Tech skills and timing. Let's dive right in.
Section 1. Criminals and Ponzi schemes. First up, we've got to address the most sensational fears people have about who actually uses crypto and what this technology is fundamentally built for.
So, is crypto really just for criminals and money laundering? Honestly, this is probably the loudest myth you'll hear. Because cryptocurrency is digital, and because it operates outside of your traditional banking system, it's a super common belief that it's just this dark web tool meant entirely for illicit activity. But you know, when you actually look at the data, the whole story flips.
Here is the fascinating reality. Blockchain transactions are public, and they are permanent. Every single movement can be traced right there on the ledger. If you think about it, that makes it a terrible tool for criminals compared to good old-fashioned, untraceable physical cash. In fact, major financial institutions, publicly traded companies, even governments are now holding or transacting in Bitcoin. Now, does criminal use exist? Absolutely. But studies consistently show it makes up a tiny fraction of total transaction volume. The real irony here? Our traditional cash and banking systems still handle the overwhelming majority of illicit finance worldwide.
Okay, to tackle our next major myth regarding fraud, we actually need to get on the exact same page about what a Ponzi scheme literally is. By definition, a Ponzi scheme requires new investor money to pay off the earlier investors. And crucially, this is the important part, there is absolutely no underlying product or service being provided. Because the crypto market exploded in popularity so insanely fast, and you had all those headlines about massive gains, a lot of skeptics naturally look at those soaring numbers and assume it's exactly that, just a giant house of cards relying entirely on new recruits to keep from collapsing.
But that assumption completely misses the underlying technology. Major cryptocurrencies generate their value through actual network use. We're talking global payments, decentralized finance, and smart contracts. They don't generate value just by paying out old investors with new depositors' money. Now, to be perfectly clear, scams totally exist within the crypto space. Things like fake tokens or phishing attacks. But those are schemes that are just piggybacking on crypto's popularity. They aren't proof that the underlying technology itself is a fraud.
Section 2. Real value and volatility. Moving from the fear factor over to actual function, let's look at the mechanics of cryptocurrency and how it actually holds value out in the real world. This is a deeply intuitive question. Does crypto actually have real value? Or is it literally just numbers on a screen? It's so easy to look at a digital coin and wonder where the worth comes from, especially since you can't exactly hold a Bitcoin in the palm of your hand. But hey, think about the modern banking system for a second. The money sitting in your checking account right now, those are also just numbers on a screen. Value is, fundamentally, a shared agreement. It doesn't actually have a physical requirement to hold real economic worth. The truth is, cryptocurrency derives its value from the exact same three forces that give any traditional currency or asset its worth: scarcity, utility, and trust. Let's look at how that actually plays out in practice.
Let's put a number to that scarcity: 21 million. Bitcoin scarcity is guaranteed by a decentralized network that no single party controls, and it has a hard, fixed maximum supply of exactly 21 million coins, ever. That is scarcity and trust working together. Meanwhile, networks like Ethereum provide immense utility by powering smart contracts and decentralized apps that real, everyday businesses are actively using right now.
So, even if we understand that it has intrinsic value, a lot of people look at those wild price swings and wonder, is this actually useful, or is it just a financial roller coaster? Does all this volatility make it completely useless to hold long-term? Sure, short-term volatility is very real. But here's the interesting part. It has steadily decreased as the market matures. With massive institutional players stepping in, clearer regulations, and mainstream products like Bitcoin ETFs launching, the asset class is genuinely stabilizing.
And frankly, volatility isn't unique to crypto anyway. A lot of early-stage stocks or emerging market currencies show the exact same swings. Long-term holders who actually understand the asset simply treat this volatility as a known risk to be managed, not some sort of disqualifying flaw.
Section 3. Tech skills and timing. Now let's bring all of this down to a personal level. We're going to address the perceived barriers to entry for everyday people, particularly when it comes to actually using crypto apps.
When you start reading up on the blockchain and you hear all this incredibly complex talk of private keys, hashing algorithms, and smart contracts, well, it is totally natural to assume you need an advanced degree in computer science just to get involved.
The reality is honestly so much more comforting. Understanding the deeper technology, like how a blockchain confirms a block or how a smart contract executes, is entirely optional for basic use. Think about how you use the internet. Most of us have literally no idea how network routing protocols work under the hood, right? But we browse the web every single day without a second thought.
Using crypto today is surprisingly straightforward, thanks to major exchanges like Bybit and Weeks. If you know how to use your mobile banking app, you already have all the skills you need. You literally just download the app, verify your identity, link a funding method like your bank account, and tap Buy. The interface looks exactly like a standard banking dashboard, letting you seamlessly buy, hold, or trade your assets. All that incredibly complex technology is doing the heavy lifting out of sight in the background, making it super accessible for everyday users.
Okay, finally, we have to tackle the ultimate psychological barrier. It's the question we've heard every single year since Bitcoin was created back in 2009. Have you already missed the boat?
People have literally been saying it's too late for over a decade. But here's the catch. Being extremely early to a brand new market actually carries significantly more risk, not less. Today, with the vital infrastructure built, clearer regulations, and massive institutional involvement firmly in place, the ecosystem is far more secure and accessible than it ever was for those early pioneers.
Section 4. Making informed crypto decisions. And that brings us right to our big takeaway for today's explainer.
The real question you should be asking yourself isn't about perfectly timing the market. It's about whether you understand what you are buying, why you are buying it, and how to intelligently manage the risks involved. Remember, the goal of this explainer was never to push you to invest, it was to replace the fear and the myths with an accurate, factual understanding. Because when you strip away all that noise and look directly at the reality of the technology and how it functions today, you are empowered to make your own decisions. Whether you decide to jump in and explore those crypto apps we discussed or to stay completely away, at least now you're deciding based on facts. So, as this technology continues to integrate deeply into our traditional financial systems, the only real question left is, how will decentralized money reshape your financial future?